meet the pre-qualification criteria? The Acting Chief Procurement Officer at National Treasury for
SAPS website.
We do have
when did it close?
and it closed on the 19th.
Is that 21 days?
It is 20 days.
Is that 21 days?
It's not 21 days.
I'm saying that this was one of the irregularities found by the AG.
Correct. The bid should have been advertised for 21 days.
Exactly.
It's an administrative error.
So you can't say here and make it seem as if though I'm incorrect. 21 days is not 20 days.
I have considered that it
Yes,
is
you
not
had to
21
consider.
days.
It took you a moment, a few seconds now. Because you almost wanted to make me look like a fool here by saying, no, it was like almost like thinking what else. 21 days is 21 days. And it closed early.
The insinuation that I was trying to make the member to look like a fool, I have considered already that it was not advertised for 21 days, but for 20 days.
What was so urgent? What was the emergency?
There was none.
Why did you have to close a day early?
There was none. There was no reason for it to be closed early.
What did you do about this? Who was held accountable for this?
I have indicated, Honorable Chair, that the National Commissioner has asked us to put everything in abeyance until the forensic investigations are done. I can't take action now, but action will be taken for sure.
Why can't you take action now? It has already been identified. This has gone public. It's in the media. It's all over. What are you waiting for to take action? What must happen?
Honorable Chair, we have been advised to put everything in abeyance, and I have responded to that.
The AG also flagged the award of the panel of service providers, finding that one awarded bidder did not meet the minimum functionality score, but was not disqualified, and that there were inconsistencies between advertised evaluation criteria and those applied during adjudication. Is this merely another unwelcomed error?
Correct.
The AG's report further recorded that bid evaluation committee members lacked training. Oh, so many members said this earlier on, and did not exercise due diligence. Can you confirm that everyone serving on the BEC and the bid adjudication committee is qualified and possesses the requisite skills and experience? I think I heard you answering this earlier on, but I want to put it on record again.
The bid evaluation committee is not a standing committee. It is a committee that gets put together for each need or for each tender. And for that, we are requesting that the end users nominate adequately qualified. We explicitly do indicate to sit in these committees. So there's not one bid evaluation committee. There's
So the fact
multiple
that they're not
bid-
qualified, that's the end users' sort of responsibility to ensure. That's not part of your scope of work.
The determination of the flow of and the exhibit of knowledge of the processes should be adequately determined by the chairperson as he conducts the evaluation.
And this is not in your department.
It is in my department.
This is outside, but it's not you. You're not responsible. You're not going to take accountability for this.
No, I have taken
You are
accountability.
blame shifting. You keep on
No.
telling us about.
No, I'm not. I have taken accountability for checking up the knowledge of the bid evaluation committee and any other possible member. That's why I have contacted National Treasury, and National Treasury referred us to National School of Government, and we are engaging in making sure that everybody is checked up in terms of the bid evaluation committees.
I put it to you today. Do you think that you, as the head of this department, do you think you lack some streetwise, I don't know how to say this, because you are in there and it's almost as if though you are walking with your head in the sand. Everything is going on around you and you continue as if though nothing is happening in that department and everything is fine.
Honorable Chair, I need to fine-tune my processes and find out any additional processes that will close my blind
My
spots.
final question. So do you accept institutional responsibility for repeated supply chain management failures since you have joined SAPS in August 2022?
By virtue of my position, I would say it is my responsibility to make sure that there are no audit findings that pertain to procurement processes. And in instances where members of the bid adjudication, bid evaluation committee that has transgressed knowingly or unknowingly, we deal with those matters as they are investigated. I cannot solely take responsibility for errors that are committed in my lies. I cannot take accountability for any errors that were criminal in nature. But I do take cognizance with regards to the gaps that exist in the process, and I need to close those gaps.
Thank you, General. You have failed the accountability test. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Are you passing a judgment, Honorable James, when we call you Judge James?
No, I'm not, Chair, but in accountability, it's never the General. There's so much happening in that department. It's actually sad.
Okay. Who is the next speaker? We are now left with the last three speakers. Can I see the first speaker to raise a hand and I recognize him or her? You want to start, Honorable Shongwe? Okay. Chief Whip, you understand us. Thank you.
Ngaxolisa Chief Whip, ngisabheke eGoli Chief Whip, and ngihamba ngebhasi angithi uyasa. Sawubona mfo. Uyaphila General?
Sawubona bhuti.
Uyaphila?
I'm all right, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Uyaphila. Hey, uphethe isibongo sakamlife, abantu bakwaMlife amatswana. Uphinde uphethe igama isibongo futhi seXhosa, samaXhosa, Fani.
Utikela, thank you.
UngumXhosa?
Ndingumtatam ngumXhosa.
Uyathetha?
Yathetha 80%.
Hayi asike sithethe okukukhomsha manje hey. Ungiphatha kakuhle. Nansi yabona ndinengqimi yabona. Nansi engqimi apha kum. Asithethishe mfondini. Into ithi dada apha kum. If
Honorable Chair, either English or Afrikaans. My mother speaks Afrikaans, so English would be correct. Thank you.
Oh, Mkhwanazi. Sorry, I didn't get that.
I'm saying either English or Afrikaans. My mom is also Afrikaans, so.
Where did you grow up?
My mom is Kalata. I was born.
Work Afrikaans program.
I was born and brought up in Sasolburg, in
So
Free
you praat
State.
Afrikaans altyd.
Ek praat baie goed Afrikaans.
So salons praat Afrikaans.
If you can.
Jare, ayen, kom bly hier.
don't just use Honourable Member aid to blow. It will lose the meaning. Thank you, Honourable
No
Chair.
problem.
English, if we
Thank
can.
you. I want to know something. I didn't pick up Gatle and the early stages of your, actually when we started. You said you're a qualified engineer. I didn't pick up anything speaking related to finances and stuff like that. Are you qualified in finances?
I have studied finance up to master's level.
To master's level?
I have done finance in the programs up to master's level. Yes.
Oh, okay. No,
In my BCom, in my MCom program, I also did finance master's program.
all right. I think I want you to relax and understand that since we've started in this committee, our aim is to get to the truth so that it assists us.
Correct.
Not to get somebody to maybe lie to us or omit certain things.
Correct.
And on that note, Chair, I would like to address you, Chair, if I may be permitted. You normally open, Chair, and say people who speak here are protected by their parliament privileges and stuff like that. You also say anything they say cannot be used against them. I notice AfriForum has these Paulo Sullivan tendencies of threatening people. They said they're going to open a case against Nkabinde, who spoke here in Parliament. So, Chair, I need you to help me on that one. Uti, what does that really mean when we say whatever we say here cannot be used against you? Because it doesn't help our people like General Fani. You be afraid to kulumala. Ngoba so kulumi qiniso so much. General, do you know about a blue light case signed between SCM division and a company in Gauteng province for the supply of blue lights and siren for the police vehicles in Gauteng around November 2016?
The case was in the media, and I am aware of that case.
Were you briefed internally?
Come again?
Were you briefed internally in the division?
In the division,
Yes.
supply chain.
Yes.
Not briefed per se,
But you know about
but I know about the case.
What processes were followed in the awarding of that contract for the blue light in Gauteng?
The procurement process has changed since I came in as a result of the court ruling that indicated that the finance minister has overreached his accountability or authority. The processes that were prevalent at that time are unknown to me, so I cannot vouch to them.
But do you know that there were any irregularities in awarding of that contract?
It has been indicated in the media that it was irregular, hence the people were arrested. I am aware of it.
Just what you know, well, what are those, if you may enlighten me?
The outcome of that had indicated that the people behaved unethically in the award of the tender, and those people were charged. Some of them were in procurement. When I got there, they were transferred out of the department, and I stayed with the vacancies as a result of those transfers. And some of them were discharged in service, and that's as far as I know with regards to that matter.
Do you happen to know how long ago, maybe?
You had indicated it was 2018.
2016?
And yeah,
2016.
but I do know
From
about it.
2016.
Yes,
And the matter has not been resolved till now.
the matter has not been resolved.
Wouldn't you suspect something is wrong there? Why do we take so long to, if there is something that is corrupt, why do we take so long to get to the gist of the matter or understand who was wrong and get that matter finalized?
Once the matter goes to litigation, the matter is then handled by Legal Services Litigation Department. They are dealing with that matter on behalf of South African Police Service.
Are you saying to me that there is no way to really tell whether there was corruption done there, or it's just a thumb-sucking issue where you can just take a chance? Or is it a way of victimizing black business people?
Honorable Chair, I would not vouch that there was corruption. In fact, Honorable Chair, I would even indicate that I I am not privy to the documentation that led to the charges and the dismissal of the people. I am aware, though, that such a matter is still in court.
You know, this business person once complained that, in fact, it's a popular knowledge that regarding this case, there were no white or Indian or any race except for a black person who was targeted for this matter. And there were allegations that there was money being solicited from him in a way. For example, the two cases that Mr. Sissoko, the two dockets that Mr. Sissoko took when he was at IPIT, he still has them at IDEC, the two cases of that matter. Since I've told you about that matter, what are you going to do about it to help our black business people who are being targeted for having huge tenders?
The requirement for making sure that the procurement process is fair and equitable rests with me. That's why I have indicated earlier on that if we knew at the time of the evaluation and adjudication that Kate Matlala's had controversial issues, we would have evaluated the tender and only subjected to legal services had he been the winner of the tender. So that on its own is to ensure that the procurement process is fair and that any irregularities we deal with in terms of the support that we get from legal services to make sure that the exclusion or the reason for deviation from awarding the Medicare 24 would have been justifiable. That is to ensure that the process is fair in terms of what we are doing. And I'm also making sure when we do the bid specifications and stuff that the issues of competition commission are put into the process so that we do not have specifications that run perpetually favoring one supplier. I have questioned a number of suppliers in the process, and I have ensured in the process that extension of suppliers nilly-willy is not happening in the South African police services as one way of making sure that there's fairness in the process.
Okay. What is the role of the accounting officer in awarding this of such a contract?
The accounting officer's responsibility is he has delegated his responsibility, but he gets briefed. The briefing that I have with him when I go for my performance, I would bring a sheet that indicates these are the tenders that are awarded. These are the tenders where there were deviations. This is the information pertaining to the function of my portfolio in that. He would then take note of that. It in fact becomes portfolio of evidence for my performance to his office.
Who signed this contract?
The tender awards.
Yes.
I'm duly delegated to sign the contracts after the bid adjudication committee has approved the award of a tender.
Was there any investigation on any irregularities of any sort of this matter?
Of
this matter, was there any investigation on the irregularities?
For MediHealth specifically?
No. This one, I'm to the blue light one. I'm specific on the blue light.
Was there any investigations?
Yes.
I would love to believe. I cannot vouch for that. It happened way before I came.
You never followed on this matter?
No, I never.
But it's still in court now under your department. Do you know that? I'm saying it's still in court under your department right now. You know that, right?
The matter is now with legal services, the litigation department, and not with me.
So how would a commissioner be related to signing or being part of tenders? How do they link? If tenders are on your department or at your office, how do they link? Explain that to me.
Which commissioner? National commissioner?
Yes, national commissioner.
No, he doesn't.
In this regard, Patlani, would you link how does it happen? If there is a...
I have indicated, Honorable Chair, I'm not privy to the tender process
let's
that took
talk
place at the time.
In general, the current commissioner, if he was said to be involved in awarding tenders or something, where and how would they be linked? Do they have a role to play?
The national commissioner. The national commissioner, if he had not delegated the award of the tender, he will get involved in the awarding of the contract, but he would have been advised or have received a report from bid adjudication committee that recommends and give him a report. But if he had delegated the responsibilities to the bid adjudication committee, he would have no role to play.
Okay.
Unless, if I may, Chair, unless there is any document in the process that suggests otherwise, which I'm not privy to.
Okay, I'm interested in this. I wish you knew isiXhosa ke mntakababa, but you said 80%. Please reply to with this isiXhosa so that I can hear you kahle kahle. Are you saying in your tenure as a leadership lab, corruption and such matters of amatenda issues are wrong and stuff like that? There's never happened. Kuhlale kuclean nje, kuhle kakhulu. Since when-
SAPS.
Yes, since uphethe
What we call in terms of the framework that is published by National Treasury, the determination test has to be done. And if the determination test pick up issues of corruption,
Yeah.
we will discipline. In fact, we open a case if such has happened. The determination tests that are there suggested that we need to discipline people for irregularities, and those processes are underway at the moment.
So in this tender yabo Kate Matlala, were you involved?
I was in the bid adjudication committee.
Umhlanganisele or hambe yonke into straight?
And Maz Nokmaz,
If bomhla bekubonakale something where ukuthi uhlanganisele or something, bozo you pick up at what stage? Or have you picked up such?
no, I have not picked up such. It is expected of any police officer when they pick up issues of criminality, they must report and they must open a case. I have not picked up any. Hence, I have not opened any case.
So are you saying kahle right now at this stage, Kate Matlala got that tender fairly?
I cannot vouch on that. I am aware, though, that there were irregularities in the evaluation process, and I cannot ignore that. But as for whether there was somebody that assisted, I have no information at my disposal.
In your department, these pickups that you found, these findings that you found, are they part of your responsibilities to find, or they were found out somewhere else? Because nguzwa ngathi you are saying in your space he did very well. The tender was awarded very well in your space, in your understanding.
In my environment, in terms of whether we have picked up whether there were irregularities, I can confirm that we didn't pick up any irregularities. The internal audit audited and picked up the irregularities in terms of this tender.
So if it is like that, as you say it, whose head must be on the block?
I would have to wait for the audit report.
Asibuyele emuva baba, sorry kancane.
Yeah.
Whose head must be on the block?
As I've indicated, I would have to wait for the
Okay,
audit
okay,
report.
okay,
The
okay.
determination.
Man kancane mfowethu. Let me, please, African people, help. The question is, what are you going to do? The question is, whose head must be on the block? Your head or somebody's else head?
I operate in a collective, and I believe that in that collective, with the information that we have provided, we were correct. We just need to be in the position to justify, to find reasons why the evaluation process was transgressed. And then that investigation will then determine who needs to take accountability. Accountability must be placed on someone.
Okay, I need to ask you this question. Please state your name on record.
My name is Molefe Isaac Fani.
Do that exactly. Whose head must be on the block?
We would have to probe.
Lolo, mana but asiyenzi belula. Whose head must be chopped should we find out ukuthi it was not done correctly? Who must be, whose fault is it? Ubani kumele simcharge?
From where I am, Honorable Chair, members of the bid evaluation committee.
Members.
Yes.
And when does it get to be you? When does it get to be you who must be chopped?
If I have transgressed
So in this regard,
and I have not exercised my responsibilities.
oh, Okay, help me here. I'm not. Chair, Yakulu? I see your light is on, Chair.
Yeah, I'm warning you.
Or you, time. Anyakwazi Chair, maseng deeper in. Ayufuna ukungivimba. Ngiyadlala Chair,
I'm
ngiyadlala.
warning you. You have 4 minutes left.
Thank you, Chair. No, what I'm trying to get to here is this. You see, Mfethu, South Africa is suffering from leaders who don't want to take accountability. And if departments fail, there's chopping of players down there, but never the heads. So I want to know in this regard, if a department fails to pick up a tender of such amount, which has a whistleblower shot and killed Kabuhlungu, why must it not be the heads, your head that must be chopped? Why must it be somebody out there? Maybe say to me, it must be you and your team. Can it be that? Would you advocate for that?
No,
You
I
wouldn't?
would not. I am accountable for closing the gaps that have been identified in the process. In as far as taking accountability for the bid that is not evaluated properly, either fraudulently or otherwise, which the forensic investigation has to determine, and then we will then place responsibility with regards to that. But in as far as the exercise that I have done, assisted by the bid adjudication committee that surrounds me at that time, I would not take that accountability for now. But I do take accountability for the gaps that have been identified in the process, and I will definitely close those gaps.
And if we find out that those gaps are vital, senzani ngawe? If we find out that those gaps that you are talking about caused problems, they've destroyed people's life, they've also made people to die or be killed, if I may say. Senzani ngawe? What must we do ngawe?
I have to indicate that I have indicated in my submission that we have made sure that the procurement policy that we put in place has been vetted and has been reviewed by the policy committee. The reason for that is to make sure that all angles that could be problematic in terms of governance and controls are looked at by an independent body. And in this instance, because there are gaps that have been identified, we really need to go back and relook at those governance and review the process.
Chair, I don't think I'll get answers. Yeah, I'm grateful, Chair, for the time. Thank you, my leader.
Of course.
Thank you so much. Honorable Kola Barnard.
Thank you very much, Chair. Sir, you've spent much time telling us, or Doctor, I should say, telling us about the process. We have your graphic, bid specification committee, bid evaluation committee, bid adjudication committee. When you were at the Treasury, the SIU did an investigation into the SAPS and determined at the time that no bid evaluation committee was convened in regard to that PPE tender. Now, the bid evaluation committee, according to your graphic, bids and makes recommendations on the awards of a bid. So who made the recommendation at that stage? Was it by any chance the same person or same team who made the recommendation for this particular tender? I'm looking at who and what you inherited.
All the documentation pertaining to this matter are out for investigation by the investigators. What I have been informed is that the process was followed. As to whether that process was legitimate or not, I am not privy to that information. It happened in my absence. I do know that there was a steering committee that was put in place to look at all the matters pertaining to the PPE. As to who are the members of, I do know that it was chaired by General Vuma, and there was a co-chair. As to who was part of other processes in the process, I'm not privy to that. I found the documentation not in my office. I do not have any documentation to make an informed comment on those documentations.
I do hope when the final analysis comes out that you don't find that the self-same people who made sure that tender went through didn't make sure the Cat Mklala's tender went through. That would be most unfortunate. At that time, that particular corruption, that particular contract, didn't go before the bid committee. Now, you knew that had happened when you came into the SAPS. And here we are. It seems to me you're telling us that this entire process with this tender to this person was either done behind your back or that you knew about it and allowed it in. I mean, those seem to me to be the two options. Is there another option?
I didn't know about it. If there are only two options you are giving me, it was done behind my back. But what I know in front of me is information that was provided to me and the bid adjudication committee that was correct. And that's as far as I know.
Is this the biggest tender that SAPS has ever proffered, 360 million?
It's not the biggest tender that has been awarded by SAPS. No.
Okay, I've looked through a few of the others, and they're much smaller amounts. So I would have thought that this had been, probably would have been starred by you as head of the division as something one would have paid particular attention to, but that seems not to have happened. I do agree with my colleagues in asking that surely a contract of this magnitude would have or should have been carefully monitored in terms of the regulations, and yet it just wasn't. No background checks, in fact, no checks at all. A 2-minute Google search by a civilian would have prevented us from the need to be here today. That's my belief. So is it, I know you keep saying you're not to blame, and it seems many other people are, but surely the accounting officer, General Masimola, should he be held to account? It's either him or you. Somebody has to be held to account for this massive bungle. Your thoughts on that?
The National Commissioner has an ultimate accountability for procurement processes within the organization. And I think he has taken a lead to make sure that he comes to the bottom of this. And that's what he has started as a process to make sure that he takes accountability in terms of the PFMA responsibility that he has.
Do the members of your division have regular lifestyle audits? I know you say that you had apparently had some secret lifestyle audit done on yourself. Do you know if the members, I mean, it seems obvious to me that anyone in the supply chain division, in any entity in the country, that's where the money's looted, in supply chain. And I've worked in many portfolios. That does seem to be the situation. Are your members, do they do lifestyle audits on them? I mean, sometimes it's so obvious. We've seen with the hospital looting, people driving around in Lamborghinis. I mean, it's hardly brain surgery to see who the thieves are. Is it done in your division?
I'm not privy to such. I think the committee can request a written confirmation from the National Commissioner, and it should be in the position.
I think you should be requesting that it's done. You're head of the division. You're head of a division that's just given out money to a person with a criminal record longer than I am. So surely that's something you, as the head of the division, should be asking for.
I have made sure that the declarations and the making sure that they declare additional income out of the South African Police Service is done on annual basis, and I do get confirmation of that, and I do intercept that. I mean, I do interrogate that. I personally sign and give them permission if they want to do private work, and I do interrogate that. In instances where a person requests to do additional work for the services that they provide for SAPS, I do ask them in terms of how they're going to be able to do that, and I've declined some. And those are the two checks that I do. In as far as I'm looking at whether they are okay from a lifestyle perspective, risk and assurance does that.
You say that the detection of corruption can't be detected during your processes. I'm wondering how that can be considered to be due diligence if it has such a glaring flaw, the system, or even the process. It seems you're trying to wash your hands of a massive case of crooked looting in your division, claiming you just couldn't have noticed. Now, I put it to you, this is a prime example of rubber stamping. I feel sure that the IDAC investigation will show what it's all about, but it just seems to me that you should have known what it was all about. You should have been there. You should have been able to stop it before it happened. Is that not your job as head of the division?
It is my responsibility to make sure that the procurement processes in supply chain are seamless. I have indicated that where there is corruption that happens outside of the process, which leads to the process being flawed, I cannot detect that in the procurement process. That's why it is important that we have a technology that tracks every documentation that is submitted so that we can be in the position to check for the deviations, if anything at all. And I'm accounting, and I've already activated that process so that I can vouch that the documents that were submitted are indeed the documents that were used to evaluate the tenders. And that's what I'm hoping, that in the next financial year we will get allocation with regards to the technology that we need.
I was listening to you earlier, and you say you'd set up a system. And in this day and age of state capture, following the Zondo Commission and just so many commissions revealing massive corruption, endemic corruption, frankly, you've only just now set up an entity to ensure that the audits are picking up anomalies. Surely, I mean, you've been there for 3 years. Has it taken you 3 years to come to the conclusion that there's a problem?
Not necessarily. I think what I have also done was to make sure that we have appointments of people in key positions, and that we optimize the structure and we have segregation of duties. I have done that. I have implemented the structure fully. We are in the process of interviewing, of advertising and interviewing credible people that would come in that process. One of the weakest links I've got is that in the procurement environment, I've had the component head acting since I got into SAPS. I have had the section, there were attempts to fill the positions with no success. And we are working into that, and we are making sure that that is concluded. Hopefully before the end of this year, we would have that concluded.
You know, you've had the job for 3 years, and with your massive CV, especially in the Treasury, some of the steps I believe you failed at must have been really red flags to you, surely when you worked in the Treasury. I mean, it's inconceivable that you missed the red flags. And surely there were specific red flags highlighted at the Treasury or any of your other former positions from which you were headhunted. It's almost inconceivable to me that you missed what any civilian would have picked up in about 5 minutes.
I'm not sure if a civilian that would read the report that we had would arrive at any conclusion different from what we did, without having to go and start the process from scratch, which the BAC does not have the luxury of time to do that, and which is something that we need to look at now, in terms of we cannot reevaluate the tenders. I take notice that we need to do verification, but we cannot reevaluate. How we are going to go about that is what I have asked my team now. I have sourced the services of a specialist within SAPS to map our processes and to have standard operating procedures, to have checklists, and to have reports and the methods of verifying certain steps within the process. And he has until December to do that. And we are hoping that with that process, we are going to reduce the anomalies that are happening in the process. But I must stress, the making sure that we've got electronic submission of the bids will eliminate 90% of the problems that we've got.
You know, a basic CIPRO search will show you who the directors are, or in this case, the director. Surely that would have set bells ringing in your head. How do you feel about the rather messy way that this very crooked contract was eventually cancelled, where the SAPS went ahead and still paid the supplier for some months, even though everybody knew it was about to be cancelled? It seems very bizarre to me.
If payments were done after the contract was cancelled, I do not know how the finance was advised, if they got any advice whatsoever. I'm not accountable for payment of suppliers within the organization. It's a different department that does that.
Wow. Okay, so for 3 years you've headed up the division, and each of those years, each of the three, the Auditor General says your division failed to have sufficient checks to prevent irregular expenditure. That's not just from this year. It's a repeat finding from the previous 2 years on your watch. And during that time, irregular expenditure has soared. So do you feel like you're doing a good job?
We have, in the second year of me being here, it was the first time, it was the first audit that happened. We put together a comprehensive checklist that must be complied with in order for us to be able to verify and be in the position to identify some of the things that happened. We implemented it, but it seems like the checklist has not, and any other endeavors that we put in place, specifically ensuring that the section head and the component head review and give analysis with regards to that, has not given us any assurance that we will not have repeat audit findings. I took initiative when that happened in the second year, which is this year. And in August, I put my team together and I made sure that the team come up with tangible processes and systems that will be in the position to assist us. We have a comprehensive actions with regards to what needs to happen. On my return in January, we will review what has been done already, and we will make sure that we implement those.
I'm quite sure you'll be called before the Police Portfolio Committee to speak to a specific timeline to implement the recommendations that you come up with, because civilians out there, they've seen the Tembisa looting, that people are driving Lamborghinis while patients die in their beds with zero equipment, zero medication, zero anything. They're starting to think that this contract was Tembisa Part 2. When we have SAPS members coming crying every day, that they have to fix their vehicles out of their own pockets because they know if a vehicle goes or if a tire goes flat, that vehicle will disappear for months into an archaic system, and they'll have nothing. And so they just pay it out of their own rather meager salaries. I was at stations where bird lice fall out of the roof onto the heads of the detectives, where 5 of the ceilings have collapsed. It's everywhere in every station. So to hear that taxpayers' money is looted in this way is horrific to South Africans. It's absolutely horrific. A couple more. Would you support a mandatory independent evaluation panel for all tenders above 100 million?
Correct. We have looked already at the thresholds. The appointment of the bid adjudication committee will be subjected to a threshold, above a certain threshold. In fact, it has already been implemented. I was informed by my team. I just don't have the thresholds with me because of me being in training, where above a certain threshold, the bid adjudication committee now must recommend to the Deputy National Commissioner, and above a certain threshold, the National Commissioner must personally approve those tenders.
I think that's a very good move.
Yeah.
Very good move indeed.
Yeah.
Finally, SAPS has been linked to several, as long as I've known, tender scandals over the years, way before your time. I'm sure when you leave it will carry on. But what do you see as the root causes? I've heard how you're addressing them, but what is the cause here? Is it a failure of management to implement psychometric testing when people come in at the very basic level, a failure to do lifestyle audits? What is behind this, that we actually have thieves within the SAPS working with criminal syndicates? It's absolutely breathtaking to think that the people we should run to for help might turn around and rob you.
Honorable Chair, I think the paper-based procurement system should be eradicated immediately. We need to have an audit of what was received and be in the position to vouch that that was consistently applied throughout the process. And be in the position to also know and be in the position to have a full text retrieval of any information if we so need to do the verification. Having to go into the archives, into the documents and look for certain things and verify all those doesn't seem to be working for us, and that's where an oversight or some of the information gets missing in the details. I would really love to have a technology where we can submit tenders and we can have full text retrieval, or we can call up any report at any given time in any committee and be in the position to do the validation or reconciliation of what we have at our disposal.
Thank you. I'm hoping that in 1 year's time, when you come back, when we see the Auditor General's report, we will not see a replication of the same complaint and be told that there are hundreds of millions of rands of irregular expenditure, because that will all sit at your door. So we'll be watching. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Chief Whip?
No, thanks, Chair. Chair, good afternoon, General. No, I think, General, many issues have been canvassed with you, so I'm just going to deal with very few issues. I think the first one, I want to follow up on the question that was asked by, I think it's Honorable Matheus, if I'm not mistaken, but it's a question about what appears to have been a javelin, where somebody works in a process that produces a certain outcome on a contract and then disappears from SAPS to go and become part of a company that has acquired a tender. Would you not consider that as a sophisticated level of corruption?
It appears to from a layman's perspective, it appears to be questionable in terms of you are in the process, you resign and you go and work for the person that tendered. But it would require, it is a red flag, it would require to be probed, and we need to get to the bottom of that and make sure that if there is any malpractices in terms of that move, then it is dealt with accordingly.
But General, you think that under normal circumstances, the world is designed like that?
It's not.
It's not?
No.
So then you can't say for a layman, even for the other man who's not lay. The logical conclusion should be to say this was a javelin and this is a sophisticated act of corruption.
Correct.
It would therefore follows that in the process of the awarding this tender, it's justified to conclude that at least we have one example, there may be others not yet confirmed, that there were people who engaged in the process with a criminal intent.
It appears correct.
Okay. Now, the second issue I want to follow up on is the one by, maybe before I follow up on that issue, I think it's on paragraph 64 of your main statement, where you are making references, maybe let me go there with you, where you are making references to the fact that 64, the procurement component head is responsible for retaining all that paragraph. You see that paragraph, General? And then your next sentence there says, I cannot personally vouch for missing documents as I rely on the integrity of the process and the report signed by those directly involved. You see that paragraph? Have you ever asked this procurement person a question about this matter? Have you ever asked this person, him or he, what happened to them? What is your own view about the missing document? Notwithstanding the fact that, as you indicated, the National Commissioner has sanctioned an investigation on the matter, but have you ever asked a question? Because it would seem to me that naturally, as a chair of the BAC, and something like that occurs, and there is someone that should have been more responsible in that I would have asked a question.
The issue of documentation management is a concern. And that's why I have indicated, Honorable Chair, that we need to have a technology that assists us with electronic submission. It will completely eliminate the issue of documents that go missing when they have to be audited. It becomes questionable if the document was there and all of a sudden the document is no longer there in the process. And because it is a paper-based system, it becomes very difficult for me to manage document management. We do have document management center where all the documents are supposed to be archived, but from time to time we do get documents that are missing. And I therefore require that I have an electronic system to be in the position to do that. And that is something that I'm going to push very hard with our technology management services to ensure that that system gets implemented. It is about time we do.
I agree with you on that, General, but you still haven't answered the question. The question is, did you ask this procurement head, after having known, whether yesterday, today, or 2 days ago, a month ago, when it has come to your attention that indeed certain documents were missing on a process that this procurement head has a responsibility as a leader in that area? Did you ever ask that person?
Not the person individually. I have asked the whole team, and I have ensured that the whole team understand. That's why it's critically important for us to be in the position to ensure that we have a standard operating procedure that tells us exactly how to manage the documents, how to archive the documents, and who's responsible for what documentation. And those documents are being developed at the current moment.
How did you ask the whole team? In what way did you ask the whole team? Did you write to them? Did you call them into a meeting? How did you ask the whole team?
We've had a discussion about documentation management in my management team. I sit with my management team. The head of procurement sits in my management team.
So it was in the meeting?
It was discussed.
Okay. The follow-up question is, well, when Honorable Cameron was asking you about security checks, in your answer, you said, and I noted, that in some circumstances, security check does get done. What could be those circumstances?
I've made an example that we would not allow anybody to operate on an IT system if they have not been checked, because we need to ensure that we do not allow anybody to get into our system and interfere with our system if they are not checked.
So basically it's only in the IT system where such is happening. It's not anywhere else.
It's what I know that the checks were done on. In other environment, it is the prerogative of the end user to ensure if they their risk profile for that contract or service is of a nature that they need to do that check, they do that, I presume.
Do you appreciate the significance of being a chair of a committee? Let me just give an example before you answer. We are members of the ad hoc committee of Parliament. We were chosen by Parliament to be who we are. And then we elected the chair of the ad hoc committee. In your own opinion, do you think that the chair enjoys the same level of authority as individual members of the committees are? And maybe let me add and say, in circumstances where the committee veers off of its mandate or responsibility, and therefore accountability has to be enforced. Do you think that while we may be collectively responsible for that as members, but the chair would not have an additional responsibility?
The appointment letter of the members of the committee places responsibility on each member of the committee equally, except that I have an additional point where I must chair, and the deputy chair has an additional responsibility to deputize. But it does not take away the fact that I need to ensure, as the chairperson of the committee, that I share the meeting in such a way that the award of the tender is, or the adjudication of the tender has been done in a manner that is diligent for us to be to take accountability and to be proud of the results of what we have adjudicated.
So in a sense, you confirm that, or you agree with my understanding that the chair, by virtue of being the chair, has added responsibilities.
The appointment letter, I need to state it in this manner. The appointment and the rights I have is exactly the same rights as any bid adjudication committee member. My virtue of being the bid chairperson of the bid adjudication committee places me on making sure that governance issues and making sure that what is put at our disposal is then in a state or in a manner in which the adjudication process would flow, and that adjudication of the tenders is done correctly. That is my, in a way, I would say that then places me above everybody else to ensure that all those processes are done correctly. It's by virtue of my appointment as the chairperson, but more specifically, my appointment as a divisional commissioner.
Okay, so which means that in terms of accountability, because you talked about responsibilities, that you said members of the committee enjoys the same level of responsibility, but I would imagine that beyond responsibility also comes the question of authority.
As the chair, yes.
And accountability.
Correct.
So in essence, the chair of the committee should be more, is expected to be more, to have added responsibilities, which include additional responsibility for accountability, as compared to ordinary members of a committee.
Chair, I would more go along with the issue that accountability is equal for members of the bid adjudication committee, but I have authority by virtue of being the chair, as the honorable member has said.
But you remember that you are exercising your responsibility in this context, both in terms of your substantive role in SAPS.
Correct.
As well as the assignment given to you by the National Commissioner to chair the BAC.
Correct.
Why do you think that does not distinguish you from other members in terms of authority and accountability?
In this specific instance, where I have, together with other members, adjudicated on the matter, as I've indicated, I have looked independently on the issues and did not pick up any, and the members also independently did that and they did not pick up any. When we jointly met in the bid adjudication committee, we consolidated our efforts, we consolidated our thinking around the matter, and we have all arrived at that. At that time, I had no reason to present anything contrary to what I had already established in my analysis and what transpired out of the bid adjudication committee. And therefore, as the chairperson, I have afforded everybody an opportunity, and based on what I knew at the time, I then agreed with the members of the bid adjudication committee that we need, I also support the award.
No, General, there's no dispute on the process you undertaken. And please hear me very well. The process you undertaken, which you have explained here since the morning, has also been fully understood by myself.
Sure.
But where I do not get a sense that you have an absolute appreciation is the role of leadership in the context of your position, substantive role in SAPS, as well as your delegated responsibility by the National Commissioner. I don't get a sense that you are, because you are very evasive. You don't want to accept that by virtue of those two that I've referred to, it therefore impose on you a burden of leadership which comes with accountability.
That statement you made now is correct. I am expected as the chairperson, and by virtue of being the divisional commissioner who is knowledgeable in procurement processes, to assist the committee.
And therefore it follows that as much as you are equal in the committee, in terms of your assignment in the committee, but you in particular, as a lead of that committee, has more responsibility than the rest of others.
In that context, I agree.
And that will include accountability as well.
Sure.
Sure. All right. I don't know if you are aware of what Lieutenant General Spear told us when he was here with regard to the period at which he was an acting national commissioner, and during which time where Mr. Matlala came to see him and he raised his concerns about the same contract. You are aware of that?
I have had bits and pieces of the evidence because of the training that I have the other side. That part I missed. I could be made aware. Maybe if you relay what happened, I will.
Okay. When he came to us, in one of the comments that he made, he told us that there was a time when the National Commissioner was away, and he had been appointed or assigned a responsibility of being the acting National Commissioner. And coincidentally, at that time, Mr. Matlala visited him in the offices of SAPS, or wherever he works, and raised certain concerns about the contract, and that he was not given an opportunity to do that which he has to do in relation to that contract that he had acquired from SAPS. And so they had a discussion. So we asked him, when you left the acting role, did you come back to speak to the real person, the real man in charge of the job, and he didn't come? So my question was, are you aware of that? Aware may be in twofold or one. It may be that you are aware of that as it was happening at the time, and also when we were told about it after it had happened, or you just happen to know about it from the time when we were all told about it?
The first time I get to know, I'm not sure. There's a part that I heard of General Sibia, where they asked about the clinic. I'm not sure if you're talking about the clinic, but this one specifically, I got to know about it when the article was published, and the minister subsequently thereafter summoned us to come and explain.
No. I don't want you to know I'm not asking a question because I'm seeking your knowledge of the substance of the meeting,
Sure.
the details around which they engage. I wanted to ascertain if you are aware that at some point Matlala went and complained to General Spear that he was not being assisted.
No, he did not share that with me.
Now that I'm telling you about it, will there be any relationship in your own view, knowing the institution where you work? Will there be any direct or indirect relationship that exists between General Spear and this individual who participated in the contract awarding processes and later on jumped to join the Matlala company?
Look, what should have happened under normal circumstances, the procurement manager gets activated when the supplier is disgruntled about a procurement process. I do get from time to time suppliers that complain about procurement processes, and when that happens, I take it to my team to start the process of validating the claim and making sure that they provide the response. In this instance, I don't know what prompted the supplier to talk to General Sibia, and the normal process would have been that the supplier should have been sent to me to be in the position to deal with the complaint, or at least to inspectorate if the nature of the complaint warranted that a further investigation be done. Inspectorate does that type of work.
All right, General. No, it's my last question, this one, but I'm going to come back to it because I would like you to answer it in a way that help me to understand the issues I want to understand.
Sure.
You have explained what, under normal circumstances, should have been the point of call for an unhappy supplier. Clearly, in this case, me and you can tell that the circumstances were therefore abnormal. And I want us to deal with the abnormality of the circumstances. And my intention is to gain an understanding from your side as to whether you understand what could have been the circumstances that gave rise to the abnormality in that process. And that is why I was saying, why does, what is your understanding? What is the relationship, directly or indirectly, that you think or you know exists or might have existed between the Javelina and General Sibia?
I cannot vouch to that relationship. I do not have full context of how that meeting was arranged and what were the matters that were discussed. I do know, though, that suppliers that are disgruntled may come and discuss their disgruntlement with appropriate officials in the organization. So, Chair, I cannot vouch on what the nature of the relationship is between the two individuals.
General, the two individuals I'm talking about, is not Matlala and Sibia. Leave that one.
Okay.
Sibia and the person who was within the system that produced the contract that was given to Matlala and later on jump off to go and join Matlala's company. So it's not Matlala and Sibia. Rather, it's Sibia and your colleague, your other colleague, Sibia is your colleague as well, who departed immediately or whatever the time after the contract was delivered.
I'm not privy to the nature of the relationship that they had. No, I don't.
We've never heard about it as well?
No, I never.
Okay. Thanks, Chair. I'm done. Thank you. Thanks, General.
Thank you.
Advocate Zigala.
Chair, thanks. I don't have any further questions.
Okay. Honorable members, I want to thank you so much. Thank you, Lieutenant General Dr. Molefe Fani. We have come to the end of the proceedings. I want to thank you, Advocate Zikalala, and your pupil, Pillay. I hope that we will meet you next time, Pillay, having graduated from the program that you are currently on. Our proceedings are going to happen in Gauteng on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and probably Friday. I think the Secretariat would have spoken to you, honorable members, and made proper arrangements. We are going to have a committee meeting on Monday. We will confirm it will be a virtual meeting. We will confirm the times with you once we know when and how are you traveling to Gauteng. Thank you so much. I had to release the SC. We reported yesterday that he had a throbbing ear, and he was not improving today, but he forced to be with us for the larger part of the meeting until at some point when he requested to be released, and there are other members who had commitments here. Honorable Skosana, Honorable Breitenbach, Honorable Nomvalo, who requested to be released before we could conclude today's proceedings. So we have come to an end. I know it is something unusual to you, but yeah, I'm going to persuade you to stand up, and there is nothing more I can do from this table. I must just persuade you to stand up and leave, because we no longer have further items. Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Fani, safe travels.